I'm going to explain you about the internal architecture of the computer. So main intention of bus is to connect the components and communicate. Here we have four types of bus. One is the dedicated bus. How much data you are communicating depends on the number of lines present in the data bus. Hello students, welcome to the next session of Digital Electronics. I am Dr. Soumyashri from Department of Computer Science, Vidyashram, First Grade College. In this session, I am going to explain you about the internal architecture of the computer. Like as we said in the topic, computer architecture. In the last session, I told you about different kinds of computers and the functional units of the computers. What are all included in a normal personal computer. Today, we shall look into the computers. Within the computer, what happens? How does a data is accepted as an input, how it is processed, and how the output will be produced for the output device. All these things let's get to know with these sessions. Alright, let's start this session. The thing computer organization is all about, called as the computer architecture and organization. Architecture is how it is built and organization is how it is going to work. Okay, we are going to know about all these things. The thing is, computer organization refers to the operational units and their interconnections. There will be operational units. We know about the units, isn't it? Input, output units, memory units, ALU, control unit. All the units will be operational units and their interconnection, how they are interconnected with each other, that create an entire system and gives the architectural specification of the computer. All these things will be the part of this discussion. The organizational attributes usually include the hardware details, the various hardware details which are known to the programmer. Programmer needs to know these components for making a computer work, such as control signals. What are the different control signals the computer is passing through, and interfaces between the computer and the computer peripherals. Peripherals is nothing but the connected components like keyboards, memories, USB ports, whatever there is a processor are called as the computer peripherals. Okay, so between the computer and the peripherals and the memory technology like permanent memory, primary memory, volatile memory, so whatever it is, primary and secondary memory that we have used as a memory technology, and peripherals related to the memory, and the different memory parts or types of memory we are using in a computer. Now, the main interconnection or the connecting part of the computer units is the bus and its interconnection. We need to know about the bus and the interconnection between these buses, how we are going to use the buses for data and the signal transmission. What is the bus? What is a bus if you take? Bus in general meaning, it is a vehicle, four-wheeler vehicle which transports the people from one location to another location, isn't it? It is going to transport the people or human beings from one place to another place, isn't it? So in the same way, the bus we use in the computers is a bunch of wires. So the normal bus is a bunch of the structure of a bus, the wheels, the iron components, the steering wheels, brakes, accelerators, engines, the seats, the top, roof, all these things make up a bus, isn't it? But in bus, in a computer language, it is the bunch of wires. It is the set of wires for connecting several components. So main intention of bus is to connect the components and communicate the signals information between these components. So bus is going to connect various components of the computer. Along with that, it is communicating or transporting the information, signal information and other related information between the connected components. It's like an intermediary between the components of the computer. Okay, so there will be interconnection between the components. Okay, interconnection of the components of the computer can be made in two ways. So we can interconnect different components of the computer in two ways. One thing is single bus interconnection. Single bus interconnection uses a one bus or single bus structure where this is the bus we use to connect the input, output, memory and the processor. These are the four components of the computer, isn't it? Internet input, output, memory and the processor. So all these components of the computers are connected through a single bus, which is called as the single bus structure. You can interconnect the components with only one bus, or you can go for a multi-bus interconnection. You have the CPU, memory, I/O, which are the components. We can interconnect these components with multiple bus. What are the multiple bus you use is the control bus, address bus and the data bus. Why we need multi-bus interconnection is due to the enormous speed of computer, limiting the connection of components for only one bus makes the execution of a program or running of a computer go slow, because everything has to be carried out on a single set of wires and it takes too much of time to transport much of the data, and we have to pass the data's signals, address, everything has to be passed through the bus only. We have only one bus structure. So it will be overloaded with the data when you use a single bus structure to connect all the components of the computer. Now what you can do then? The thing is we can use multiple bus. Multi-bus architecture can be used to connect the various components of the computer. Okay, here we have four types of bus. One is the dedicated bus that we use, the separated data, address and control lines or control bus, multiplexed bus, that is few bus giving out into the multiple bus, and the shared line. One line will be shared by different buses. So we have these kinds of buses. Let's look at each of the bus. The multi-bus structure usually contains three buses. One is the data bus, address bus and the control bus. Let's know more about all of these three types. Okay. First thing is to know about the data bus. What does the data bus will do? It carries the data from one system module to another. So the data is going to carry the data. As the name itself says, data bus is a bus which carries the data. As you know about the bus, the government bus carries the citizens, whereas the school bus carries the school children only. College bus carries the college children only, isn't it? Likewise, the data bus carries the data. Where it is carrying? It is carrying the data from one system module to another, or one component to another component. Data bus may consist of 32, 64 or 120, 128. You can have 36 number of interconnections, lines, or 64 different lines, or maximum of 128, or with the today's computers, even more number of separate lines you may have to transport the data. As you know, data will be transported in the form of bits, isn't it? So each line may represent a bit. So we will use different set of wires to transport the data. Okay, this number of lines decides the width of the data bus. How much data you are propagating, how much data you are communicating, depends on the number of lines present in the data bus. Each line can carry one bit. As I said, if you have 128 lines, that means you can transport 128 bits of data at a time. Okay, so if each line carries one bit at a time, a data bus with 32 lines can carry 32 bit of data at a time. So you know about the data transportation now. How much data will be transported at a time depends on how many lines have been established in the data bus. If it is 128 lines, you can transport 128 bits of data at a time. If you have 64 bits or 64 lines, it can carry 64 bit of data between the components of the computer. Alright, if a processor needs to read 64 bit of data from memory, suppose if the memory or the processor needs to access 64 bit of data, then the processor must access the memory twice because the capacity is only 32 bit. If the processor needs 64 bits, it has to access the memory 2 times because one time it can carry 32 bit, remaining 32 bit should be cached or processed in the next cycle. That means the processor has to fetch the memory or should reach the memory twice to get a 64-bit data from the memory. That means the bus are connected to each and every component of the computer, input or output or memory or processor. All the components are interconnected through this buses. Okay, the first bus that we have studied is the data bus. Next we have the address bus. What does the address bus will do? What it is going to carry? What it is going to propagate? It is used to carry the address of the source or destination. If you want to send a message, if you want to send a letter, there is no letter in today's time, but suppose if you want to send an email, say you are well familiar with emails, messages, isn't it? So if you want to send a message through WhatsApp or maybe email, Gmail, Google Mail, any mail destination you take, if you are a sender and somebody is there, your friend, who is a receiver of the message, how do you send the message? Can you leave the message as it is in the air? Can you leave the message in the phone and it will reach your friend? Is that happens? It is not going to happen, isn't it? What you need? You need an address, isn't it? Address may be the location of the house, location of where he is staying, like hostel or PG or any address, or say if you are sending the message in WhatsApp, you can't send a WhatsApp message to somebody who is not there in your WhatsApp list, isn't it? So if you need to send a message, you need to have the number. That number itself is the address, isn't it? Where you can reach or you can transport or transmit your data to your friend. You can't directly say to a friend that I'll send the message. Friend must have a mobile. His mobile must have a SIM. that SIM must be activated. In that SIM number, the WhatsApp should be registered. If you have all these things, then only you will be able to send the message to your friend, right? In the same way, to send any data to any component, the processor or the bus need to know where that component is. So it needs to know the address of the component. Well, how does the processor or any device, any component knows the address of another component? Before sending any message, I must get the address of that component. If I am a component, say if I am a mouse, I am a keyboard, and I want to send a letter A to the processor, I need to know where is processor locating. Where is processor? If I only know where is processor, I can send the message to the processor, right? In the same way, the components must need to know the address of the component to which data must be sent. Okay, so the address bus, which is used to carry the address of the source or the destination of the data on the data bus. To transport or transmit the data over data bus, first I need to know to where I have to send the message. If I am a component in the computer, I want to send a message to another component, first I need to know where is that component. Only when I know where is that component, I can send the message or the data, isn't it? So, the address bus will help in getting the address of the component to which data must be transmitted. Okay, this is about the address bus. It gives the address over the address bus. Data will be moved over the data bus. Okay, the third bus we use is the control bus. What does the control bus will do? It is used to control the access. So, name itself indicates it is controlling. It is like a boss who controls, isn't it? So, control bus is used to control the access, processing and information transferring. Everything starting from getting the address to sending and receiving the message or information transferring will be carried out by the very own control bus. Okay, as either the exclusive data and address lines are shared, as we share the address and the data bus by all components or common paths may create congestion in traffic. If you don't have any control measure in a system or anywhere, if you don't have a control measure, you can't manage the system, isn't it? You need to have certain control measures to manage a crowd or manage a set of components or set of devices that are interconnected, isn't it? In the same way, we need a controlling mechanism which controls the access, processing and information transferring in the system. If you don't use any control system, there may be overload of the components and the data over the common paths which created traffic in the system. There must be a separate and dedicated path for sending the control signal. So, control signal is like the traffic inspector who controls the transportation of the vehicles over a circle, isn't it? If the circle is there and 4 roads are there, somebody must be there to control the vehicles moving in these roads, isn't it? Otherwise, definitely there will be accident if you don't control the flow of the vehicles on the road, right? In the same way, the clock control bus will help in controlling the accessing, the processing and transferring of the information over the data bus. Okay, the data bus as well as the address bus will be controlled by the control bus. This is about the buses. Next is to know about another component which is named as the PCI. What is this PCI is? PCI stands for the Peripheral Component Interconnect. So this Peripheral Component Interconnect is, as the name itself indicates, it is the component or the interconnection which is used to connect the peripheral components. Okay, that is why is known as the peripheral component interconnect. It is suitably named according to its function. Okay, it is having a high bandwidth independent bus. It is a PSI is an independent bus from that of the data or the control or the address bus. This is a special kind of bus. Okay, it is used to connect the peripheral devices. It is used to connect the peripheral devices like the graphics card, which is used to create a graphics, the LAN card, not the components like input, output, memory or processor. This is the bus used to connect the other components of the computer which are known as peripherals. Okay, so it is used to connect the graphics card, LAN card, disk controller, ports. All these things will be connected using the peripheral component interconnect. So this is the diagrammatic representation how the PCI bus looks like. This is the PCI bus that interconnects different components. Okay, so the PCI may be configured as a 32 or 64-bit bus. As I said, PCI is a special kind of bus. So let's know about the bus structure of the PCI. It may be configured as 32 or 64-bit bus, but there will be 49 mandatory signal lines for the PCI, which are divided into the following functional groups. There will be 49 mandatory lines, signal lines, which are grouped like this. First is the system pins. What does the system pin will do? It includes the clock and the reset pins. Clock is setting the clock when you boot the system or when you switch on the system, and resetting it when it is switched off. Okay. Then address and data pins. What does these address and data pins will do? It includes 32 lines that are time multiplexed, that are connected with the time. Using the time, the address will be set and reset, and the data will be set and reset using the address and the data pins. The other lines in this group are used to interpret. It is going to interpret and validate the signal lines. It is going to interpret and validate the signal lines that carry the address and the data. It is going to validate the signal lines which will carry the address and the data in the address and data bus. Okay. Then we have the interface control pins. What does this interface control pins will do? It controls the timing of transaction. At what time the transaction has started, at what time the transaction will be ended. All these things will be controlled by the interface control pins and provide the coordination. Along with it, it provides the coordination between the initiators and the targets. So from which the data has started, to which the data must be transmitted. All these things will be controlled by the interface control pins. Okay. Next we have the arbitration pins. We have the arbitration pins which, unlike the other signal lines, these are not shared lines. These are dedicated lines. They do not share the workload, but they are dedicated. Each PCI master has its own pair of arbitration lines. Each PCI master pin or the master line has dedicated pair of arbitration lines that connect it directly to the PCI bus arbiter. So there is arbitration pins that are dedicated to few components. Okay. The last category is the error reporting pins will be used to report the parity bit errors and other kinds of error that can happen in a system. Not the program errors, the system errors will be reported by the error reporting pins. The next thing we need to know is what are the different bus types of the PCI. So we have different bus types of PCI. One is PCI 32 bits have a bus speed of 33 megahertz and operate at 132 Mbps. Next we have another bus with 64 bits, PCI bus with 64 bits, which has a bus speed of again 33 megahertz and operate at 264 Mbps. Then we have another PCI with 64 bits with a 66 megahertz bus speed and operate at 512 Mbps. Then we have same PCI with 64 bits and same bus speed of 66 megahertz and they operate at 1 Gbps data. Okay, these are the PCI bus types or bus types of PCI which are going to interconnect the peripherals, not the components like input output or memory or processor. They are going to connect the peripheral devices or peripheral components. Let's look at the bus structure. Here we have the PSI bus which connects the network, the memory, the expansion bus. So we have I/O devices, graphics, motion video, audio, different kinds of memories that are connected through one PCI bus, which are connected through a single PCI bus. Okay. Then we have the CPU components. Okay. What are the CPU components that are used in the system are the memory address register, that is MAR, specifies the address for next read or write. Then we have memory buffer register, MBR, contains the data to be written into or receives the data from the memory related to memory. Then we have the program counter. Program counter stores the address of the next instruction to be executed. Which instruction has to be executed next? That address will be stored by the program counter. Then we have the general purpose registers. They have from R1 to R2. They are, R represents the register. They are general purpose registers used for storing the information at the time of execution by the user. And we have the instruction register, stores instructions before decoding. Okay, it is going to store the current instruction. Then we have the instruction decoder, decodes the instruction before the execution. Okay. Then we have the arithmetic and logic unit. It does all the arithmetic and logic operations. Then we have the control unit. You know about the control unit? Generates the control signals to control every action inside the computer. This control unit will be connected through the control bus. So this is all about the components of the CPU, which are the things you need to know in a CPU architecture and organization. In the next session, let's know about how we can use these components to transfer a data or to process a data. Thank you.